Right. Now, last Saturday, a new baby shark came into the world, but not in the most usual circumstances. For the last 9 weeks, it's been in an egg in a hairdresser's. To explain, marine biologist Kealan Doyle joins us once again in the studio. Good afternoon, Kealan, and you've also brought an egg with you. I suppose first tell us what species of shark it is, because I just thought sharks gave birth live. I didn't realise they laid eggs at all.
Well, you're kind of half right, half wrong. They do lay live young, but they also lay them in kind of protective casings, which is called a mermaid's purse, and it's like a kind of a seaweed type protective housing, and the young shark will stay in that for on average about 3 months before they burst out into the world.
Right, and you brought one in with you, and it does, I suppose, for want of a better description, yes, look like a piece of seaweed.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the reason for that is camouflage. I mean, you can imagine that down amongst the rocks or what have you. I mean, you'd struggle to know what it was if you were a little predator crab or fish or what have you. So, you know, it's also really, really tough. It's really, really strong. So if you want to try and break into that, it's really difficult. And that's their only way to survive, because if you can get inside that as a predator, this guy inside is a really tasty little dinner. So they have to really try and avoid getting eaten at all costs.
And it has their food supply in there, in that the food supply is several times larger than the little baby shark in there.
It is. I mean, if you can look at it, and it's a pity, I'm not sure people can see it on the camera, because it's really, really cool to see, but you have like a large, like about a golf ball size inside it, which is the yolk sac, and attached to that with an umbilical cord is the little baby shark, who is literally about the size of a tadpole, if people can imagine at this stage. And what happens over the next 2 to 3 months is that this feeds the baby shark, and it's like attached to the belly button, just as we were once upon a time. And as the shark gets bigger, the little yolk sac gets smaller, until eventually he's used it all up, and then it's time to hatch out.
To get out of Dodge, so to speak. And presumably, even though it's tough, little baby shark will have the teeth to be able to get out.
Well, at that stage he does. I mean, now, and I mean, we're observing this from a scientific perspective to learn as much about them, but at this stage he's got, you know, he's very soft, he's very tender. But as he grows, I mean, first of all, his skin becomes like sandpaper, and his jaw gets really, really developed. And basically sharks, they don't have their jaw attached to their upper skull, so they can actually move their upper and lower jaw independently. Like if you want to try and move, you can only move your lower jaw, you know, if you want to try. But these guys can actually move upper and lower jaw, so they can really rip things apart, and as a result they can get out of this very, very tough structure.
And the other one was it was in a hairdresser's in Malahide. Explain what it was doing there.
Well, you see, there's the sad thing about sharks is, first of all, sharks are under threat of extinction, right? I mean, these guys have been with us for over 400 million years. I mean, they've been on the planet longer than dinosaurs, would you believe? And, you know, unfortunately, they're being wiped out. They're being fished out mainly because they're used to make soup. They make them into shark fin soup. So,
and it's just the fin that they're looking for. They're not even using the rest of the shark.
All they do is they cut the fin out, and would you believe they just discard the rest of the shark, right? So that's why, you know, we reckon now at this stage that sharks are going to become extinct in the next 40 years if they continue to fish them at the levels they're presently fishing them. So, you know, what we really wanted to try and do was raise awareness about sharks, that, you know, they're really valued, they're under pressure, and they're not really as bad as people think they are. So with that in mind, we teamed up with a breeding project in Indonesia who are trying to breed them, to release them back into the wild. And they donated 2 eggs. The first one came in, and we located it in Sharkey's Cuts for Kids down in Malahide, which has a large 3-metre aquarium, right? And we basically put the shark in the tank, and kids and what have you could observe it over the 3-month period, and to try and learn as much about it, you know, and educate people about sharks.
And what species of shark is that when it comes out of its egg?
This guy, it's a banded cat shark, and, you know, if you look at him, I mean, he's literally, as I said, tadpole size, and he will grow to about 2.5 meters. So he'll grow, you know, way bigger than an average man. So it's very hard to believe when you look at it. And, you know, he bursts out, and he's one of the sharks that have to continually swim. A lot of sharks have to swim when they're born because what that does is it passes oxygen over their gills, and if they don't swim, they actually drown, would you believe?
All right, so he just has to move the whole time.
He's moving. There's no rest for the wicked, as they say.
And when he hatches out, will you keep him someplace for a while before you release him back into the wild?
He's going to be kept in Sharkies because he's out there. You know, it's got a huge home, and he can be kept. He can be observed. We're going to keep this other egg out in Seahorse Aquariums, which is out beside the Red Cow, and we're going to be able to observe the two of them and compare and contrast. I mean, we have a team of European scientists who are actually working with us on the project because, you know, surprisingly, there's not a huge amount known about these guys. So, you know, if they are going to be under pressure for extinction, we need to find out as much about them as possible.
And so, at what age will they then be released back into the wild?
These guys, probably about 12 months of age, they're going to get too big.
Right.
And at that stage, then, we will have to release them. So, you know, it's a fun thing and it's an educational thing. And I think, you know, for kids, you know, for parents, especially in the summer, I mean, you know, are looking for things to do, something free to do. You know, they can come out to Sharkey's in Malahide, they can come out to Seahorse Aquariums, you know, at the Red Cow, and they can learn, you know, a lot about them because sharks, you know, while people think that it's a deadly creature, it's scientifically proven that you're more likely to get killed by a faulty toaster than you are by a shark. So,
wow, I wonder who did that test.
So watch out for your toasters, folks.
And when you release them back into the wild, presumably you don't just like chuck them off the end of the pier in Malahide, or do they have to go back into warm water, or do they care?
Back into warm water, and this guy will be tagged, so we will have an electronic tag on the shark, so we can then observe where it goes, where it feeds, you know, how it's doing in the wild, and we'll be able to monitor that on computers. So again, you know, it's just going to build up the information and the knowledge base that we have to learn as much about these very, very unique creatures.
Going back to what you were saying about the fishing of shark, is it all varieties of shark? There are